Hello everyone, Burb here. The schedule's making it so this video is better released today rather than on her release day tomorrow, so it is a bit early, but I do have a way too in-depth guide to Inari One. This series is sort of a hybrid between a quick banner overview as well as a in-depth guide where I go and try to put as much stuff as possible that I found out about the character all into one video for reference later. This is sort of the goal of the encyclopedia of Umas that I'm trying to make, and the new characters are very good jumping off points for that. So without further ado, quickly, the banner itself. It's quite interesting because normally it's just like Oshi, you can pull it. If you are a Inari One Oshi player, she's a very, very good option for end closing. She does not have any meta-defining properties, but she is very, very solid. The thing is that I think this character is sort of in this middle ground where although she is not like top of the meta, she has so many good skills in her kit as well as very flexible aptitudes that make it so that she is just a good option. And so if you're an end closer player that needs someone besides Goldship, this may also be a good banner for you to pull on as well. I will not say she's required because she certainly isn't. Not many characters, if any, are that level, as well as your support cards and your pull plan matter more than pretty much any off Uma that is not your Oshi itself. So that is my analysis of it. We're going to get into why she is actually quite a good character. Inari One, her aptitudes to start is out of the box incredibly flexible. She has Dirt A, which is very important, as well as Mile B and Short F. Everything else is pretty much A for the end closer position. Now, if you want to play her in sprints, you do have to force her, but otherwise, every single other CM, Mile, Medium, Long, Dirt, are all out of the box, pretty much easy to get. You can technically play her Late Surger and Pace Chaser. I think she's very much built as an end closer, but hypothetically, it does sort of work in Late Surger as well. You're just losing part of her kit, okay? Notably, in Track Blazer, because she has Mile B and Dirt A stock, she is, I believe, the only character in this game that comes out of the box able to run the Crown route plus the Dirt route at the same time, which gives a whopping 350 stats out of epithets. And to put that in perspective, the regular Crown route is 270. So it's a very powerful schedule that she's just able to do without having to go and move around your distance aptitude. So if in this Mile CM even, I wouldn't suggest for the Mile CM, but maybe the next Medium CM, you can just throw everything into Medium and you can just run the most efficient schedule available in Track Blazer. Her stat bonuses are 10% stamina, 20% power. I am very acquainted to these stat bonuses due to a certain character that I enjoy playing, but these stat bonuses are quite powerful for a particular reason, is that generally you only really need one power card. If you're running speed, power, wit, I suggest going to 3 speed and just making yourself a lot more comfy. 3 speed, 2 wit cards will make it so you pretty much max speed every time and get good wit every time, and that 20% power bonus is going to make it so that your power is not absolutely terrible. You can throw a little bit of power sparks, a little bit of stam sparks to go and supplement for the mediums as well. But in medium, generally what you would do is you would drop down to 2 speed. You maybe run a couple of speed sparks, and then you go and get that second power card because your power button is amplified by 30%. You really want to press that button a lot. You can also just use Rico, of course, and of course you would need Tachyon at this point because you can't run double Marvy. For longs, you generally will go and replace the singular power card with either a stamina card or a Rico as well. So you're basically going powerless at that point and going speed wit in the speed wit deck. And then you go back to 3 speed, and basically the 3 speed cards allow your 20% power bonus to amplify itself, while the Super Creek with the 10% is usually enough to make it so that you hit any stamina thresholds required. Like I said, I played this a lot with Winning Ticket, and it's very successful in pretty much all 4 of the distances. If you're going to do the Guts build itself, the Guts build is high rolly. The 20% power bonus is going to help you a lot at that. You probably want to go 2 speed, 2 guts, 2 wet because unfortunately it's very difficult to get a lot of speed. You could try some speed sparks and going 1, 3, 2. I just find it to be much too high rolly for my liking. Her unique ability is Now We're Cruisin'. When competing for the lead, if positioned in the mid-pack or further for the first half of the race, show off some Edo spirit and greatly increase velocity. There's not a lot of lines to this one. However, it is sort of like the previous Trace and Cheer Ultimate, where each one of these lines is quite long. Distance rate greater than 50 or equal, because the next condition is a restriction, basically means it's the opposite. So because it's greater than or equal to 50, we are intending to look at the first half of the race with another order rate out continue time. So basically this is out 40 instead of out 50, which was Trace and Cheer, which basically means you're allowed to be in fourth or worse for the first half of the race itself. Now, order rate out 40 continue time or out any continue time has a 5-second delay, so it does have accumulate time 5 built into it. And then after that, between 5 seconds and the 50% mark of the race, if you so much as go into third place for a quarter of a second for a single tick, your ultimate gets shut off. However, fourth place honestly is not that, like, getting into third place is quite difficult to do unless you're PDM breaking, but I find that even then, as long as there's a front runner or two, it's very unlikely you actually sniff third place like that. If you do not go and get into third place in the first half of the race, your ultimate is turned on. And now normally that would mean that it would proc at the 50% mark. However, the condition that it is complete fight count greater than 0. So hypothetically, this can happen in the second half of the race itself because the precondition is satisfied, but dueling itself is what compete fight count greater than 0 is. This is what the parameter is for dueling. Now, dueling is a mechanic that is based on guts, but the most important thing for this is the condition of entry. In order to do a duel, you have to have 15% HP. You have to be within 3 meters, which is a little more than a horse length, of another horse for longer than 2 seconds, as well as have a similar current speed. The biggest thing is that this has to be on the final straight. Now, the final straight isn't always in the late race. There's like 2 maps, I believe, that have it in the mid race, which she is a monster on. But mostly this means that it is a final straight late race ultimate in like 99% of situations. So this ultimate will happen a little bit later than the final straight itself because you need a 2-second accumulate time. And honestly, dueling doesn't really happen until like a couple hundred meters after the late race because it's hard to exactly be at the same speed as another horse until you've reached max speed. And at that point, if you're doing it while it's accelerating, it's very unlikely in my personal opinion. So realistically, this I think is safe on mile tracks because it's a 0.45 too. We're going to talk about that. If you do it and you get through all the preconditions and you end up dueling, the moment that you duel, you show off some Edo Spirit, which is a tri-pulse. That's all. It's a 5-second 0.45 ultimate, which is a 100% of a tri-pulse. So it's a tri-pulse that is timed to the start of your duel. So you will find that when you duel, you have this massive burst of speed that basically makes you go in front of who else that you are dueling. The inherit is also actually quite good. It is a 0.25, but note that dueling is quite finicky. And yes, you can sort of build your team comp to make duels more effective, but at the end of the day, you could just wide swing and never have a chance of dueling itself. So I'd say it is, less reliable than a Triumphant Pulse, but it's still a 0.25 inherit for 3 seconds, which is quite good and quite rare at the current stages of the game. Her career and events. She has a dirt long career, which I don't think we've had yet. It's quite a difficult career. This obviously is disabled in Track Blazer, but you do the Tokyo Daishoten for year 1, and you have to get 3rd or better in the Tenno Spring and win the Arima Keenan. So again, that 3rd place Tenno Show Spring is basically your stamina bottleneck. Otherwise, you generally will not have a problem because you have A aptitude in pretty much every single thing in your, except for 2 races, you have A aptitude, and by then this won't matter. So outside of the Tenno Show Spring, she has quite an easy career, and she doesn't have any secret events that I could find. Most of her skills are just from her events. Her events are quite good. Unfortunately, she is a Hot Topic character, which is not that great at the moment. And you simply have a choice between ramp up and forward march. You basically probably just take forward march in the dirt, and then ramp up's just good everywhere, so you always have that option as well. You also have a additional cafeteria event that is disabled in Track Blazer that has tail held high as a bottom option if you do not wish to take the energy. Okay. Otherwise, I think these two are not in Track Blazer as well because they are not choice events, but they are just character events that give you skills. So ideally, in 90% of runs, you probably will be having All I've Got Fighting Spirit and Eager as well. Eager and Fighting Spirit are two of the newer skills. One of them is a minor recovery with a block side continue time that should happen on mediums, and of course Eager is positioned towards the back mid-race as well. So a lot of mid-race as well as mini tripulse in all I've got. 3 quite good skills that are just simply given to you as long as these events actually go and trigger. Otherwise, her innate skills are quite good. Enclosure Straightaways is also in kit. Winter Runner is good in winter, so that will be the Arima Kinen and the Tokyo Daishoten whenever we do those. And then she has Straightaway Spurt in kit, which is honestly a little bit easier right now to grab, but it's quite nice being able to swap all your parents over to Umastan parents for these mediums and longs and not have to worry about Straightaway Spurt because you just have it in kit. It's kind of the same thing with Tama. Her gold skills are quite good. Tail 9 is one of the best mid-race skills in the game. It's super cheap for what it does, and it's like a 0.35, so it's very powerful, and it's almost guaranteed to proc in the mid-race because you have other skills that you're procking. Master of the Sands is her unique addition to the game. It is a hybrid stamina recovery. However, it is a full gold recovery as well as a 0.35 target speed increase for 1.8 seconds. So it's basically 60% of a gold skill as well as a gold speed skill as well as a gold recovery, which makes it very powerful on dirts because that is incredibly skill point efficient. So she's very built for that Tokyo Daishoten, I believe, because that is the time where you will actually use a gold recovery, and this giving you actually some speed. Think of it like grabbing Radiant Star that's both cheaper and also sort of better but doesn't have acceleration component, right? Her CM viability for this upcoming Gemini Cup as well as mile CMs and technically sprint CMs. I think that the dueling aspect of it will generally mean her ultimate is possibly partially eaten, but it's not that much. So I think she's perfectly fine. And in fact, I kind of like how much her ultimate synergizes with Louder Trace and Cheer because you want to be in the back half of the pack for both of these. So you sort of have a game plan that you can build around for these shorter tracks. Now, notably, she does have Mile B. I think she's perfectly fine, and it is certainly just an option. For Gemini Cup in the mediums and in the longs in general, basically the big thing is that her ultimate is a final straight ultimate, and on these tracks, except for the Nagata 2000 meter and I think one more race, the final straight is far enough forward away from the spurt that you do not have to worry about your ult getting eaten by the acceleration zone. So it is, again, just an option. Now, CM17 is the Dirt Virgo Cup. It is a 2000 meter track, and so it's medium. It is medium and it is dirt, which means pretty much every single thing in our kit works, and you get to actually use the recovery. So you could do something like, we'll be out of Track Blazer, so you may not try to Guts Max, but basically you do not have to worry about stamina because you have a gold recovery that also gives you speed. So she is quite efficient as well on this. So it's quite a good character. I haven't really said anything meta defining. It's just because, like, at this point, these medium tracks are basically going to be Christmas Oguri, to be perfectly honest. But other than that, like, pretty much everyone else is fighting on pretty much the same playing field, if not Inari One on this dirt track having quite a good quite a good chance at winning just from the merits of the skills in her kit. Her affinity is mostly with Tamamo Cross. Tamamo Cross has a ridiculous affinity of 43. I think that is a record for this series. I think the highest other one was Mayano Top Gun and someone else, I forget. But 43 is insane. That is like 10 to 15 above what I would call as like a good one. So this is incredible. It's almost like a free parent for it. And then you also have a bunch of other end closer options as well as Super Creek in Goldship, Emperor, Symbole Rudolph, Agnes Digital, and Mayano Top Gun. So there's a lot of different choices. They're all within the high 20s to mid 30s. But man, that Tamamo Cross affinity, if you're looking to just throw an RE1 ult on her, it is a quite good option to do so. If you have Tamamo Cross already, there is, again, the comparison between the two characters. They both have Tail 9, they both have Straightaway Spurt and Kit. The thing that you're sort of trading off is that White Lightning coming through is, to be perfectly honest, a very good mid-race ultimate. It's basically mid-race versus late-race ultimate. The mid-race ultimates are better. Now, there is a position requirement, which makes things a little bit tricky on Tama, but if you hit it, technically Tama ult is better because it is mid-race, right? Now, the thing is that the thing you're trading is that Tama doesn't have good mile aptitude for Track Blazer. She doesn't have good mile aptitude in general. She doesn't have good dirt aptitude in general. So you have a lot of flexibility with the character in the races that you want to run and in the tracks that you can run it. And you do have things specifically built for those medium tracks as well as for those dirt tracks, especially with Forward March and Master of the Sands in the kit itself. So in conclusion, this character is honestly quite solid. It's, like I said, it's on the level of Tamama Cross. It is a viable option to run, especially if you are newer to the game and you're looking for your first character to branch out from Gold Ship for end closing, but that is not at any means required. And if you don't like a character, don't pull it. If you like a character, do pull it. So this has been the way too in-depth guide for Inari One. As you know, just a little fun story. When you watch the B&W anime, which is, I know, 3 of you, Inari One's name in Spanish actually just becomes Inari Uno. Take care, everyone. Burb out.